Other viewers submitted a story for you guys. Before we get on to today's epic bedtime tale, I just wanted to mention. So, you guys might even be wondering what is Datura, because this is what it's about. Some guy was tricked into doing it. And I had to do plenty of research with the old Googling machine to just find out what Datura was, and I'd even do some research on psychedelics as a whole. So, for those of you who don't know, basically the difference between that and LSD or mushrooms or something like that would be with other stuff such as LSD, you might just be looking at your wall and it might have colors around it, or it could have like a gradient pattern, or it could be look like it has a breathing effect or something. So basically, what it does is it manipulates the things already in your environments. But the Torah is completely different. It's not even really a psychedelic. It's more of a deliriant thing where you could see things that don't exist. You could think you're talking to SpongeBob SquarePants when he's not even there, and you could just think that your grandpa's having a conversation with you when your grandpa's nowhere to be found. So anyway, after we get that out of the way, so onto the story. So this guy, he was just sitting at home one day. I think it was actually sometime in January, I believe. And let's give this guy a fake name. How about Yoda? So Yoda was just sitting at home, and he was just on his couch or whatever, and one of his friends had mentioned to him, "Hey, you want to try some psychedelic?" And he said, "I'd never done them before," because at the point Yoda had only said he tried those marijuana vape pen thingies. So he had said he only did that, and he hardly had any experience at the time. So he said, "Sure, I've never done them." And his friend goes, "You should probably start with magic mushrooms. They last the shortest, and they can be pretty mellow in a way." And he said, "Okay, sounds like a plan." So his friend hooked him up with another guy, and he messaged him, and he said, "Okay, Yoda, come meet me at the local Wendy's." So Yoda decided to meet him at the local Wendy's, and then he said, "Okay, that'll be $10, Yoda." So then Yoda gave him the $10, and then after that, he handed him a bag of these brown-looking pod thingies, and Yoda said, "What are these? I thought you had magic mushrooms." And the guy said, "Well, I thought I did, but these are something else. They're called Jimson weed, which is another term for Datura." And he said they were way better, which is not the case at all. They are terrifying, according to Google. But he had said, okay, he took them home, he ate them, and then about 30 minutes later, he said he felt as if his mouth was super, super, super dry, as if he had just ate liquid sandpaper. So he grabbed 3 Dr. Peppers out of his fridge and drank them all, but he still felt worse. So then he grabbed a gallon of milk and drank half of it, and he said he still felt like his throat was super dry. But then he sat down on his computer and he said he booted up some Snoop Dogg music. Song was Gin and Juice, and normally you guys can look it up. I'm not gonna play the song because I don't want to get a copyright claim, but you can look it up and see what it sounds like. But the part, one of the lyrics says like rolling down the street, smoking endo, sipping on gin and juice. That's usually what it sounds like. But the way it played it sounded super slowed down and messed up and warped. It's like, rolling down the street, and it was pretty terrifying to him, to be honest. He said it looked pretty scary, and he didn't like the way that it was towards him. So he kind of turned it off, and then he tried to go on YouTube some more, and he saw these crazy scribbling things on there or whatever. And then he said about 15 minutes later, his dad came to the room and asked, "What do you want for dinner?" And he said, "I'll have some pizza." So then about 45 minutes goes by, and then he goes to his dad's room and he says, "Hey, Dad, when's the pizza gonna get here?" He said, "What are you talking about? What pizza?" And he goes, "You came to my room about 45 minutes ago and said that there was going to be pizza. You asked for pizza." And he said, "Are you feeling all right? What were you on drugs or something?" And he said, "No, he was fine." And then he went back up to his room, and then he heard a little scratching at his door. So he opened the door and he saw a golden retriever dog sitting there. So then he tried to pet it, but he just felt nothing at all. And then he goes, "Wait a minute, I don't even have a dog." So he was just super confused about it and was, "What is going on here? This stuff is not okay." So then he thought that would be a good idea to clear his head by walking. And then he went outside and he saw that the clouds looked all black and the sky was red. And then all of a sudden he said he saw Jesus dead on the cross and all this stuff in the sky or whatever. And he said that he saw a goat walk up to him, and the goat stood up on its legs, and then it turned into the devil. And then the devil said, "You're gonna be in hell forever." And this guy was all terrified and said, "Fuck this." And he kept trying to walk away, but his legs felt like they were 2 tons each, which was pretty crazy. And he kept falling down a bunch of times. But he finally got home, and every time he was at home, inside his room, every time he blinked, it looked like a completely new room. It looked like somebody else's room, looked like somebody else's house. He just looked like he didn't recognize the house. This guy normally has blue walls on his whole house, but every time he blinked and everything, he said the walls were changing to purple, sometimes green, sometimes red, sometimes yellow, sometimes orange. It was just weird, and it just looked like new furniture and everything. He said he kept seeing deformed burn victims walking around, freaking demons, bathing in blood, all types of crazy stuff, and basically he tried to go to sleep, and for the next 12 hours or so, he said that he was having terrible nightmares about his family being tortured and burned and getting run over by trains and all this crazy stuff. And he pretty much had that, but he lived through it, and I've talked to the guy, and he always tells me about his experience, and it's pretty scarring. So hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everyone. Hope you also had a Merry Christmas, I'll say that. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, then I hope you had a happy whatever you celebrate.